Hey everyone, it's Jerry Thompson. Welcome to You Own It. It's August of 2025. So it's a nice sunny Sunday right now, Sunday morning at my studio. And hopefully we can get you some helpful tips today. Today, what we're going to talk about is Real Estate Negotiation 101, secrets to winning a real estate negotiation. And as somebody that's done this 34 years, I do close to 80 transactions a year. It's a lot of negotiations, meaning if you sell 80 houses, usually there's 120, 130, if not more, negotiations you've entered into because you're not always successful for your seller clients or your buyer clients. However, I want to share with you today some of the things that I think buyers and sellers should know entering into a negotiation. And anytime you enter into a real estate negotiation, I always say there's three really important things to keep in mind right off the bat. Number one, the goal is to buy the house or to sell the house. So if you are trying to buy a house, my presumption is, and the theory should be, you want the house. You want to end up with the house, and you want to end up closing the house. When you're selling a house, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, you would like to sell the house, not to negotiate and then not have it work out. So always remember, when you're entering into a negotiation, remember the goal, the end, which is the sale of the house to a buyer, if you're a seller, and as a buyer, to get the house. Number two, in a negotiation before you enter a negotiation. One, remember the goal. Two, knowledge is power. Before you enter into a negotiation to sell a house, it never hurts as a seller if you have a general idea what the buyer thinks of the house or what the buyer's circumstance. As a buyer, it never hurts when you're entering the negotiation if you have an idea of what the seller has other than your offer. How many offers? What are the terms they're establishing? Are they accepting escalation clauses? Aren't they accepting escalation clauses? And I explained the escalation clause in a prior podcast, so go back and listen to that. Is it a highest and best terms? What terms are the seller looking for? Knowledge is power. So before you start the negotiation, you want to know the goal is to sell the house and buy the house. Number two, you want to know, if you're a buyer making an offer, as much as you possibly can about the seller's circumstances. Why are they selling? Where are they going? What do they need? And what are you competing with? And if you're a seller, when an offer comes in, it always helps to ask questions like, when does the buyer want to close? What are their circumstances? Do they own another house? If you can get that information, knowledge is power. It will help you to enhance your counteroffers or your proposals or your negotiations between both parties. And the third thing that you always want to know is how to get the best price, right? So what you always want to have is when you're selling, you'd love to get the best price, which includes what strategy are you going to take? Are you generating multiple offers? Are you trying to get a higher price pre-market? What's your pricing and marketing strategy? And as a buyer, based on your goal and your knowledge, what's the best strategy it will take to get the house at the best price that accomplishes your goal? When I say get the best price, that doesn't mean a house is asking $400 and you pay $360. The best price for you may be $451 because you might have been willing to pay $500. When you're selling the house, if you're willing to take $450, the best price for you might be $472 or it might be $446. The question becomes in the negotiation, how to get the best price out of that specific negotiation. And here are the tips and tricks that I would suggest that you follow if you want to win a negotiation and meet your goal by using your knowledge to get the best price. So let's talk about some secrets, some things that I always kind of suggest that people follow when they're trying to buy something. Set your terms and stick to them. And let me tell you what that means. And I'll give you a very specific example. A few weeks ago, my wife and I were deciding to buy a home. and we'd seen something we were kind of excited about. The seller had set an asking price, and what we had done is began to talk about it. We set the goal. We would like to buy this property. We asked the seller's agent, or I asked the seller's agent, how many offers are you expecting? What are the terms you're expecting? What is the seller hoping for? What is their circumstances? When do they want to move? When do they want to close? What creates a better situation for them? And how many other offers are you expecting? Then I didn't even leave it at that. Before the offer went in that morning, I said, how many offers do you have? How many specific written offers? Very important distinction in real estate, by the way. If you're dealing with a realtor member, they have a code of ethics. And it is important to know that you as a buyer have a right to know how many written offers have arrived. You do not have the right to know what they are, not unless the seller wants to disclose that. You get to know how many, not what. So I called and said, how many offers are there? And it turned out that there were 6 buyers trying to buy the same property that we were. We had a significant conversation where we set our terms. We decided what is the most we would be willing to pay for that property, and that if we lost, we would go to bed that evening and say, I'm okay with it. It didn't meet our goals at a price that was higher than that. So know what you want to do before you make the offer. Stick to your terms. We had a term. It was well over list price. We went to that term and we still lost. We had an opportunity to modify it again. And in the emotion, we had conversations like we were going to change it. But we had a 2-day conversation before we made the offer about sticking to our terms and knowing that there's a certain price point got out of our budget, got uncomfortable. That's a walkaway point. And the third thing is don't regret. Meaning, if you set your terms, you set your walkaway point, make sure that it's not a yeah, but walkaway point. And it's hard not to do this. So when we had done it, we had set our terms, we had set a walkaway point, we had started the negotiation, we got emotionally excited, and this is something I do for a living. We modified our terms at the last minute. We went up a little higher than we initially would have wanted to on our initial goal, but we modified our goals. Remember, these are all modifiable. But then we picked a walkaway point. And we made the best offer we could, and we still lost. And we lost, let me tell you, it was still disappointing. But by the time we lost at 5 o'clock at night, by 9 o'clock at night, I went to bed and was not tossing and turning over the loss of the house. Because we had set our walkaway point. Set your terms, stick to them. My favorite. So this is the thing most professional real estate agents fail in negotiations, and most buyers and sellers fail in negotiations. I call this enjoy the silence. Negotiations, the biggest money, the greatest financial advantage in a negotiation is earned by you in the moments of quiet. You earn more money per hour waiting for a response in a negotiation quietly than you do barfing up more information when you don't get a response. So, let me explain. Any negotiation, buying a car, buying a house, buying something on Facebook Marketplace, should be like tennis, or what's the new one? Then never mind, I'll forget it. You serve. Here is my offer. The only difference being is once the ball goes across the net to the other party, the seller in this circumstance, because you're buying a house, you submit an offer to the seller. You've already set your goal. You already know if there are other offers. And you already know that this is the attempt to get the best price. Let's talk about a traditional real estate offer market where there is no other offer. You're the only offer. Somebody's asking $100,000. You offer $90,000. Serve it to the seller. Now, here's what happens next. You or your agent make the offer, and the seller does the following. Inherently, in that science or silence, it is human nature for you to get anxious and nervous. And when people are anxious and nervous, their speech patterns increase. They get uncomfortable and they want to do something. They want to force the issue. When the reality is you have sent the offer. You have served them. In the silence, waiting for their response, the longer you stay silent, the stronger your position gets. The longer you stay silent, the stronger your position gets. Most people can't stand the silence. The pressure is too much, and then they serve. There's silence, the silence bubble, I call it. There used to be a comic, I think it was Howie Mandel, that used to put a balloon on his head and blow it up years ago. And I always try to liken this moment to that. It's called a pressure balloon. People that thrive in that quiet moment when a seller or the other party at the other side of the table is making a decision and don't say anything. Allow that balloon to grow. And as it grows, it gets harder not to say anything. But he who talks pops the balloon and loses every time. So when you submit an offer, you may not get an immediate response. Enjoy the silence because that's where you're making more money. Allow the pressure balloon to build up because that balloon is blowing up over your head and it's blowing up over the other party's head. Somebody's going to talk first. It's the other party's turn. Let them take it. It's their job to respond to you. A lack of a response, maybe they don't want to take your offer right now, and they don't want to counter your offer right now. But if you've set your goal, you've set your terms and you're sticking to them, you have knowledge that you are the only offer, and that's the best price for you, what are you worried about? Silence is golden. Silence is a weapon. Silence is your advantage, not a disadvantage. Most people jump into the silence because they can't stand it. And when they do jump into the silence, typically what it is to make another offer, even though they haven't gotten a response to the first. And by the way, if you're the type of person that can't stand that, and your goal was you would pay more, and the silence is you're not getting a response, and that response is dragging out, and the other party's is ghosting everybody, your response may be, okay, I'll up it. You may not enjoy the silence and you may jump, but I'm telling you, when you're jumping, you're losing. When you're jumping into that pressure balloon to shrink it so you don't feel pressure anymore, you're losing. Enjoy the silence. Number 2, often in a real estate negotiation, there are parties that demand. And it's like a dam. You're trying to buy something, you're the dam, and they keep piling more water onto the dam until it breaks, and then the deal falls through. A negotiation should be like tennis. Serve goes to the seller serves something back. The buyer serves it back, the seller serves it back until ultimately the transaction or the service is complete, and hopefully that's a successful transaction. Tip number 2, you get by giving. It's called a fair trade. Find out what the seller wants and give that to them in exchange for something else. Let me give you a perfect example. A seller might be building a house and they might want to close in 5 months. That 5-month closing or 5 months with post-occupancy could cost you a great deal in your interest rate, your rate lock, or something that you want. Now, if the seller comes back to you and says, we want more money and we want a longer closing date. So, for example, you've submitted an offer, you're enjoying the silence, meaning you're sitting at home calmly, not saying anything. And then you get a response back, and that response is a relatively firm pricing position and a longer closing date. Human nature would be to react like, no, not doing that, not doing this, not doing that. Where I would say, shrink it down and offer a fair trade. You get by giving. You know something, Mr. Seller? I'm going to give you your 5-month close. It's going to be significant inconvenience to me, but I want your life to be easier. In exchange for that, we'd like this off the price because it's going to cost us as well. Or, hey, we'll give you the price, but we need to be in 60 days. You need to make a counter proposal that gives them something in order to get something. Remember, number 1, the goal is to get the property. Number 2 is using your knowledge once you have it to your advantage. Number 3 is finishing with the best price for you. So offer fair trades in negotiations. You get by giving. Seller likes your price, doesn't like the home inspection. Maybe you want to stay silent for a day, do a pre-inspection, drop the home inspection, and then meet the price. Maybe you want to waive the inspection, buy a home warranty instead. That's entirely up to you. You get by giving. Number 3, you remember we talked about knowledge is power? Know the market. Trust your agent's market opinion. When I say know the market, when you're in a negotiation and you're in that silence, sometimes that silence can mean there's one side or the other is stalling. The buyer is stalling because maybe something else will come on the market that will be like yours that they can get for less money. Sometimes the seller is stalling because they think they're going to get another buyer. Know your market. Know if you are in a seller's market. Know if you are in a buyer's market. Know what other houses are there. What a buyer could go to if you're a seller besides yours if you don't have a successful negotiation. And buyer, know, and your agent should be able to tell you this if they're a full-time professional active in the market. Our house is still getting multiple offers. Do I run a risk over 2 days? What do you think of the value of the property? What does the data say? And Remember this. When you know your market, that doesn't mean that markets always are 100% predictable. I can give you a circumstance now where I have a buyer that has regret and we've got to find another place for them. We made an offer on a property. We used statistics and comparables. The property was listed for like $250 or something. Nothing in the neighborhood had ever sold for more than $260, and we still offered $290, and we lost to $295. Now nothing else has come up, and my buyer's regretting because they wish they had paid $300. And we knew the market. I mean, we knew that market, but somebody else knew it and didn't care, and their goals were more aggressive than my buyer. Now we're resetting. We'll find another one, but it hurts. So know the market and then match that with what your goal is. What are you willing to pay to get that house? What's the best price for you? Sometimes, again, best price for you may be more than you want to pay, but it will get you that house. People that have been in our real estate market in Buffalo since 2016, buyers that have been paying too much, have earned a whole bunch of equity in the last 8 or 9 years because the market keeps going up. So in 2017, people going, nobody's ever going to repeat the value of this house. Well, those houses are worth $100,000 more. You know, that's the way the market's been going here. I know other areas of the country, it's not going exactly the same way right now. But in a real estate negotiation, the secret to your successes is set your goal. I want the property. I want to sell the property. Look at the price that's best for you in those terms to meet that goal and to meet some of the things that you want to accomplish. And use your knowledge. Knowledge is power. When you're negotiating, set your terms. Know your terms up front. Know your goal up front. Set those terms. Make sure you have a sleep number, magic number. If you lose by $1. When you go to bed at night, the number you've lost add to somebody else, you wouldn't pay anymore. It's what I call a sleep number. I think they used to do Sealy mattresses. Find your sleep number. They're not a sponsor. But the sleep number gets you where if you get disappointing news, when can you go to bed and be, I'm okay with that disappointment because that was a number that would have met my goal, was the best price for me, and was my terms, and I stuck to it. Enjoy the silence. Every time I say that, I hear the Depeche Mode in my head. So enjoy the silence. Silence in the counter offer, meaning gaps, no communication. That's silence. Don't break the silence. Enjoy the silence, because that's where you're earning more per hour than any other time. Real estate agents 101. You want to earn more money? The time you earn more money is in the silence. It's not in your sales presentation. It's in the silence. My first negotiation ever, I learned that from my father. And I presented an offer to a seller. And the offer was, I think, $4,000 less than those price. And he said, don't say anything after you present the offer. And I presented the offer, and we sat there at a table. And the seller was uncomfortable and nervous, and their agent, and we sat. It felt like an eternity. And then the seller broke, and we got our price. That's what happens. Know the market. Power comes from information. Always keep the end goal in sight, which is to get the house. Now let's talk a little bit about a few things don'ts. Don't do this in a negotiation. Change your terms. Don't make a proposal and then take it back. It proves that you're untrustworthy, difficult. Some people There are some people that consistently will think what they're doing is winning. And what they're doing is building that water on the dam until it breaks. Straight line to failure. Make an offer. Seller accepts. Change your offer. Move it down. Remove something. Add something. Complicate something. Don't change your terms. When you make an offer, know it's a right offer and stick to it. Number 2, don't take it personally. The seller or the buyer owe you no obligation. They don't, at 8 o'clock at night, owe you a response. They should respond, but they don't owe it to you. So a failure to communicate is the pressure balloon, is the silence, does not mean that there's a reason to be mad at them. Don't take it personally. If they reject your offer, it's not a personal affront. It's because your offer didn't meet their goals. It didn't meet the price that they wanted. And they have some knowledge that maybe they feel pretty good about the market and somebody else paying more. If you are selling, if a buyer won't pay, maybe they have some knowledge that nobody else is going to pay more. I have one right now. I'm sitting in the silence. I don't know what the result's going to be. My buyer has what I think, with knowledge, is a pretty good offer on the table for the seller. I've told that to the seller's agent. The seller's agent said, we're thinking it over. We're going to wait. We'll get back to you on Monday. I know that they have market knowledge. I think that they believe by waiting, they're going to get another offer. I don't think that's going to happen. My offer meets my buyer's goal, is the best price that they want to present. And we are enjoying the silence. Because the reality is when we had the conversation, my buyer said, almost got personal, well, how come they're not responding? We made an offer. We hit it over to their court. They're not responding. They want to wait till Monday. Well, because they think they might get another offer. Okay. Are you going to pay more? Well, no. Well, if they get another offer, it's going to be more money. So let's enjoy the silence. Let's not make it personal. Let's be professional and kind about it, which is what we did. We said, okay, take all the time you guys need. And maybe in the next podcast, I'll share that result. And I'm hoping we end up being the winner. Don't overplay your hand. I want to put this into the context of all the things we've been talking about. Overplaying your hand would be if you submit an offer that is a lot worse than ultimately your goal, than your best price, and you've got silence and the seller's insulted, and you begin to believe that you have some leverage over the seller that you don't have. Let's say it's a seller's market and other parties are out there. Your low offer may be just being shopped as an opportunity to generate more offers. Cash. My number one pet peeve in this market is when I get these texts from other agents. Got a cash buyer. It's cash. It's cash. Cash. 1/3 of our market is cash. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Nobody cares. Everybody has cash. One-third, 1 out of 3 transactions are very close to it. I think it's like 29%. In Erie County, in the last year, closed cash in the MLS. That's not, if you have cash, don't overplay your hand, because other buyers, if you're in a multiple offer, the chances are really good other buyers have cash too. Don't overplay that. Right? I have people that overplay their hand that think that they know the seller, right? Oh, I know the seller, they are best friends with my niece, and they Facebook them, like they get around the agents and they send them messaging. Oh, my offer, is from such and such, and please. And the reality is, when the seller or buyer sit in that room and they look at the math, even though they know somebody and they feel bad, they don't give $5,000 away or $10,000 away just because they know somebody. Whenever a buyer says something like that to me, like they think they're going to get a better price because they know somebody, I always like to say this: great, you know them well, right? Yes. If you went and knocked on the door and asked them to give you $5,000, would they? Of course not. So why do you think they'll take less for their house from you? Because you know them? Because you have a cute dog? If you're walking down the street with your cute dog, do you think the person would walk up and give you $5,000? No. So that's got no value in a real estate negotiation. I know people love to do that and pretend that they're somehow, don't overplay your hand. Cash, nobody cares. Emotional connection, nobody cares. This is about business and what the best circumstances are. How to lose. Don't talk too much. I'll give you a great example. I had a circumstance a few years ago where we had like 14 offers on a house, and we had pared it down to the top 2 or 3 that were all very, very close. And while I was in the conference room with the seller, we called the leading offer. We asked a couple questions because they were all so close. They had very similar circumstances. The leading offer, the highest offer, had a home inspection. Second place offer had a home inspection. Third place offer didn't. So we called the first place offer to say, how do you feel about the inspection? How seriously did they look at the house? And the first place offer said, kid you not. Well, they did a quick look, but we're going to bring mom and dad back with the inspector to make sure that they're comfortable. You were winning. We didn't know. That was a red flag. It was a concern that we would have the real estate dad or somebody pointing out all the things. This was a fixer-upper. This was not a pristine house. So you had nothing to worry about. This was a fixer-upper project. We knew those inspections will have a whole series of things. And the addition of mom and dad being injected, we ended up taking offer number 3. I think we went back to the third place offer, asked them after we talked the first 2, number 1, who was going to win, brought in a third-party interference. The seller said, I'm really uncomfortable with that. Their parents, they're relying on for their opinion, haven't even seen the house. I'd rather take the one without the inspection. So we called the one back without the inspection. I think we might moved them up to like second place pricing, pretty close. And it took that one. Done. That was too much information, too much knowledge provided by the other party. They had us subject to an inspection. They didn't need to tell us that information. They didn't need to tell us that information. Inspection, they can have whoever the hell they want in there. Don't say too much. What is that? I don't know. This from a movie or something. Talking too much reveals too much of your position and often creates question marks for the other side. I'll tell you another one. One of my first houses I ever sold, it was on Lapham Road in the town of Aurora. And I went in there and I took this client I was all excited about because they were one of my first clients. And we were walking around the living room and they loved the house. They loved the house. And the wife looked out the back window, and back a distance away from the house, there was like a piece of a large construction equipment, like a backhoe or something. It was 500 feet back, and there was a gravel driveway that led to that. And when she looked out the window, the seller was there in this particular house, which I advise against. It wasn't my listing. And the seller said, don't worry about that at all. They only come in and out early in the morning, for just a couple minutes, and then around 5 o'clock at night when they move the equipment in and out, they're not doing much back there. It really doesn't bother us. And it's stuck. It's like planting a seed in somebody's brain. Construction equipment's going to be going back and forth on my property or adjoining my property. That's noisy, and it's going to be early in the morning. It's going to be early in the morning. And after I called them later on for feedback, after they said they were thinking about it, they said, well, we loved it. It's perfect locations, everything we want. We just don't know if we could stand the noise in the morning. Too much information. Gone. It raises questions. Don't talk too much. And here's a few other minor things that I would say on my little hot sheet here. Here's some other tips. Respond promptly, not emotionally. What does that mean? So if somebody gets back to you with an answer and you've been thinking about it you've been enjoying the silence, it's been an hour, and then they give you the answer like they're supposed to back. If the answer is not what you want, don't get mad. Don't take your things and go home. I always say it's taking your toys and going home. The buyer or the seller that you do not want to deal with in real estate is the one that reacts so emotionally that they make an offer. Let's say they offer $520 on a house asking $500, and there's 3 offers, and the seller is thinking about it. Rather than enjoying the silence, they could call their agent back in 2 hours and say, if they're not going to take my offer, I'm taking it off the table. And their goal was they wanted to buy the house, right? So now they're taking it off the table, or they threaten. It's an emotional reaction. If you don't take this by 5 p.m., we're gone. It's an emotional attack. Why would you be gone? At 5:01, is it a different house? Do you have a different goal? Do you have a different price? Enjoy the silence. Let the seller make the decision, because the emotional attack, the threat, the bluff, the I'm going to do this, if you react that way over a negotiation, how are you going to react all the way through the transaction when something goes south? You want people that respond promptly, professionally. You don't want people that are emotionally all over the board. By the way, the agent has a great deal to do with this. Get a good agent that sucks the emotion out, makes you comfortable, understands when it's tense, when it's not tense, and helps keep you even-keeled as you can be, making that huge financial decision. Respond promptly, not emotionally. Ask questions, don't make demands. So if a seller says, I need till Monday, don't say you only have till Saturday at 5. Say, is there a particular reason that we're waiting till Monday? Is there anything they would like to respond to us on that would prevent them from waiting till Monday? Or is no matter what we do, they have to talk it over. It's a big decision. They're going to wait till Monday. They say, I'd like till Monday. Don't respond till you have till 5 p.m. Everything should be in writing. An offer is only as good as the paper it is written on. Texts don't count. Written offers matter. If you are a buyer and you've submitted an offer and you get a response verbally and you're wanting to accept it, get it all buttoned up in writing right away. Initial offers, always in writing. Initial offers, always, 100% should be in writing. Sellers should not respond to verbal crap. Don't respond to things that are in the air. Always in writing. And another quick term is understand your knowledge is power. Understand what the sellers are willing to consider or the buyers are willing to do in that there are different strategies in buying. Escalation clause versus highest and best price. is a good example. Sellers, escalation clause versus highest and best price decision you're making. And I have a whole podcast before, so go back to my podcast on understanding the escalation clause. So winning a real estate negotiation is both logic, strategic, and it should not be emotional. It's a psychological process. Make sure that you stick to your terms, stay calm. Make sure that you enjoy the silences in that, and don't be fearful of the wait. Sometimes the waiting is the hardest part. Now I got Tom, I think it's Tom Petty. I've gone from Depeche Mode to Tom Petty. But sometimes the waiting is the hardest part. And always remember that a great deal is not always winning or beating the other side. It is something that is fair and that both parties are happy with because it meets their goals together. It meets the price terms that they both want. It makes you happy as a buyer because you're going to be spending your holidays and bringing your children home to your dream, and it helps you as a seller move forward with your life to the next step. As always, thanks for watching You Own It with Jerry Thompson. Look forward to seeing you in episode 17 next month. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in to You Own It. Don't forget to take a look at the show notes for any resources mentioned during the show. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe on YouTube, follow us on your favorite podcast apps, and turn on your notifications so you have access to the latest and greatest. All of our social channels are clickable in the show notes as well. I'd also like to remind you to check out our website, c21jerry.com. There you'll find more info on me as well as my latest listings for all of Western New York. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, through any big decision, you own it.